Everybody, and good evening to all our listeners and to all our viewers. Welcome to the Asia Pitchdeck podcast on social enterprise. We have here today Elke from Little Oaks, Afendi from Teague, and Malik from Platform E. I'm Kineret, and I'm your host for this show tonight. I will briefly introduce myself. I'm the co founder of Impact Tech. In Impact Tech, we empower impact driven technology companies. We like to say that we create leaders and we create also success stories. Among the services we provide accelerator programs, corporate accelerator programs, workshops, and bespoke activities. I will now ask Elke to please introduce yourself. Ladies first.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, well, thank you for having me on the show. I am the founder of LittleOak Organics. We're a bespoke nutrition and infant formula company, and we're in the process at the minute of getting our business up and off the ground and producing what we hope will be the most natural and the most, I suppose, infant formula that's as close to human breast milk as possible. And the reason for that is really to, I suppose, provide the best nutrition for all these beautiful little babies that we're having around the world, and making sure that all of them are fed well and with the best nutrition from the get-go.
Okay, thank you. Afendi, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Fendi. I'm from TIC. TIC is a Singapore registered social enterprise. What we do is we gather marginalized women from homes, from charities, and we train them to be seamstresses so that they can be employed to work in either design studios or alteration shops, or to do micro business so that we can bring their services out to the public and they can get, they freelance as seamstresses.
Okay, thank you. And we have here Malik, and Malik is our investor and advisor for the show tonight.
Thank you. Welcome to Platform E, everyone.
Thank you.
Very good to see all of you here. My name is Malik, and I run Platform E together with my managing partner, Rina Neo. Platform E is SIM's Entrepreneurship Center. I look after all business development activities for Platform E, and also the community as well. And we are all about the entrepreneur. We want to bring great ancillary services, great programs, and opportunities so that entrepreneurs can thrive in this environment. I also have the privilege of being business advisor to Teague, and thanks to Effendi and his wife Haslina for providing that opportunity as well.
Thank you, Malik.
Okay, so back to you, Teague. I want to know what brought you to start this business, and just for personal interest, how many ladies you have working for you today?
What got me started?
Yeah,
I
tell
guess
us your why.
My why is first that there's a big problem out there. There are a lot of marginalized women who are living on aid. They don't get enough aid from charities, from organization, and they are stuck because they are not educated enough. So we wanted to provide them with a platform whereby education is not a factor. Something we teach them skills, we teach them sewing, so that they can bring a minimum income into the family. We even have a number which is 1,008. So our target is for every woman we help, we must make sure they get a minimum of $1,800 per month. How many people have we helped? Now we have different phases in our help. First, they get trained as a sewist, whereby we call them sewists, by the way. It's sewing plus artists, not seamstresses. Sewing artists. So they at the first stage, they must be able to sew for the family. So even though they don't become sewists later on, at least the skills they've learned, they can help their family. The second stage, they will do a beneficiary-driven collection. We call it the Sakura collection. Whereby they make a tunic, Japanese-inspired tunic, and they sell them. We even rented a booth for them to sell. And the third phase is when they get commercial orders. So those women who have gone through all these three phases, 83 of them.
Very nice.
83. My biggest why is because I've lived through the experience. I was homeless for 2 years when I was younger. it was my mother. We were homeless because of our divorce. So it was my mother who worked really, really hard to take care of 4 children. And all of us are now successful. I would say successful except me, who let go a very comfortable job just to do this social enterprise.
Oh, so you left your job to do
I did,
this?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was in the Ministry of Education. I was doing curriculum planning, and I was reporting directly to Minister of State. So at that time, and I was doing good. In fact, I got an award, a National Day Award. So it was kind of settled for me. I just had to climb the corporate ladder. But I decided to do something different. I decided that at the end of the day, people will not remember me as the person who wrote the policy that makes some impact in schools. They will not know. So I decided to come out of that world and decided to help the woman.
Okay, very inspiring, I must say.
Thank you.
Elke, share
That's
us.
so inspiring. I really am. I'm so impressed.
Share us your why, and I also assume you left a job to do what you're doing today.
Yes, a well-paid, very, safe job. But, I wouldn't have it any other different way than being where I am today. And, my journey started back when I was about 6 years old, actually. And I remember watching a video of a lady who had returned back from Africa with all these hungry children and malnourished and, very unhealthy. And I remember at that point in time, at 6 years old, not much older than my daughter at the minute, actually. And I remember thinking, that's my role in life. I'm setting myself out to help the children of the world. Nobody should be hungry. There shouldn't be a child in this world that should go hungry. And that, I worked through that, and then obviously actually tried to get into medicine, be a pediatrician. Did not make the grades, and I spent a number of years, being quite remorseful about that. But nonetheless, about 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, I had some hardship in my life, a bit like your parents, a divorce, and then some things that didn't go so well with the ex-husband, unfortunately. And I sat down and I said to myself, right, I either follow my dream now, which is either go and study medicine, or I find a career path that's really going to inspire me. Because after everything that went on, I thought, right, I have it in me to survive anything. So off we go. So I looked around, and I came back to children, and I came back to nutrition, which was really, to me, that fundamentally the thing that I suppose allows children to thrive and flourish, and that's what it was all about. And LittleOak was born actually on a plane with a really wacky man sitting next to me saying, you have to follow your dream. You've got so much passion, go for it. And I thought, right, well, pediatrician, I can study for another 8 years and perhaps help a handful of children in my career, or I can go and put my commercial experience together with my passion and build a business where I'm actually helping a lot of kids around the world. So my management team that works with me at the minute, I'm sure they're sick of me hearing this when I say this business is all about making sure that no child goes hungry. But as you probably know, as when you're speaking to investors, they just want to know about how much money you're going to make. But for me, it's like, if we can actually make the right amount of money, we can make this commercially viable, then we have the opportunity to make sure that our business has a very strong social conscience and can go out there and make sure that the children here in Asia Pacific, but also further around the world, aren't going to bed with an empty stomach.
That's also very inspiring, I must say, as a mom also.
Yeah,
so
I know, right?
Thank you for sharing. Now to you, Malik. So we have here 2 social enterprises, and they're both raising funds, and we'll ask them in a second how much, and to share a bit more about this journey. But as you are our investor and advisor today, it's a bit hard for social enterprises to raise money. What can you tell these 2 startups, or how can you advise them? What is the best way for them to pitch and scale?
I think from listening to many social enterprises over the last couple of years, I think you hit a key word there, commercially viable. I think every investor, even for social enterprises, has to have that idea that's commercially viable. Sometimes we meet people who want to save the world, and a little bit of naivety kicks in as well. There's no sustainability in the business model. They will run out of cash after 3 or 4 years. And I always say, look, if you run out of cash out of 3 or 4 years, what's going to happen to that 20 people or 30 people that you have on your books? You have a moral responsibility to make sure that people who work for you are also given the opportunity to succeed in their roles as well. Uh, the other thing I think is sometimes the problem is how do you value a business when it comes to social enterprises. And that's where to give you a live example, why we were helping Effendi at Platform E is we have a strong interest in the individuals. Diaz is a really good story. Not only Effendi quit his wife quit her job as well. They are solid individuals, trainable, coachable, but we're also there to make sure that they're sustainable, that they have a commercial angle to their story as well. And many years ago, I had a job with the British Council, which was also a not-for-profit registered charity. And the director sat me down one day and says, "Look, it's great giving away money, but you've got to make money to give away money as well." And I think uh, behaviors as well. I think if social enterprises present to investors, they have to realize that they also have to go down the path of making sure their numbers make sense, their business story makes sense. And I think many investors out there actually see a correlation between social enterprises and businesses. I think that's the way to go, and that's the way of the future. Unfortunately, sometimes they don't get the best advice, they don't get the best mentors, they don't get the best uh, people on their board or directors who can help them take the story. So one of the things we always tell people is, if the social enterprise story is great, but you don't understand the whole game of raising funds, bank loans, you know, exit stories, get someone who would volunteer their time, who can value add to that story as well. And I think if you can get that right, what I always say is also it's great if you can build a profit driven part of your business to help the sustainable the whole story as well. I think it'll be a lot more palatable to investors. And I think the what investors be looking at social enterprise, from my perspective, I'll be looking at the individuals, I'll be looking at the stories, I'll be looking at how they're going to make the money. But what's also very important is how are they going to spend the money. Uh, Sometimes we see social enterprises who would say, "Look, I need to raise $1 million," and out of the $1 million is going to a really fancy office, really thick carpets, and you go, "Wait a minute, is this part of the story? Shouldn't you be bootstrapping a little bit instead of traveling first class or business class for your trips?" Uh, so sometimes we get the feeling that social enterprises abuse, or people use the social enterprise story uh, as a cover for real businesses. And that's really unfortunate because there are really good social enterprises out there who get caught in this whole web of deceit sometimes.
Okay, thank you. Effendi, I wanted to ask you, so you help Malay women. Did you ever think about helping maybe other sectors here in Singapore, or Chinese or Indian, that can also do the same thing?
We started off helping everybody. So until last year, the CEO of Mendaki Self-Help Group heard how successful we were. Then she came over and said, "Okay, I'm going to give you a grant. Can you focus on the community?" So recently, our exposure has been towards the community, but traditionally, we have always helped many different groups. We don't look at the community race. We work with the charities themselves. Like for example, with Casa Rauda, they take in abused women who are abused due to domestic violence. Doesn't matter which race they are from. So we help everybody, those who are willing to try to get income through sewing. It has never been. So only when we decided to grow this further, because we have data with Malay women more. Last time when we helped, like what Malik say, when we started off with good intention, rather naive. So in terms of documentation, we may lack. So I do not want to tell investors something which I don't have real data. So I have data with Malay women. So when I pitch, I'll show you that, okay, I'm going to help Malay women At the same time, let me show you how I'm going to help the rest of the community. It's all about nation building. If we help a particular segment, the lower 30% of the population in terms of social economic status, we are going to bridge a lot of gaps, not just in terms of income gaps, and not in terms of racial gap. Even we develop a lot of understanding, because the marginalized group actually are making clothes for those who can afford. So they meet in the middle. So we help them meet in the middle. So they realize, they develop a certain new sensibilities. Perhaps we cancel off certain bias, and through that interaction, so we don't help just the Malay woman.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you one more thing. Did you ever think of doing something online so these women can sell? Because for now, you said that you take booth and people need to come and actually buy. Did you think about doing this online so people globally can really buy this?
Definitely. That's why we are raising funds.
Okay.
We want to do it online. We've been all the while before this, we've been focusing on gainful employment. Either we employ them or we ask our suppliers to employ the ladies. We are a victim of our own success. So when the numbers grow to 83, employment doesn't seem to be a useful mechanism to ensure that these women have livable wages. So we are going towards micro entrepreneurship. Now, for micro entrepreneurship to work, they must have more platform or wider platform to sell their products. And definitely we are going online.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll talk about that soon. Elke, can you let us know a little about what status are you in now? Are you raising funds? How much? And where is it going to take you?
Yes, we've actually just closed off the initial seed round, which was, as a founder of a business, very exciting. And when it's your dream and you see people backing you is quite a big thing. So we're now moving into a Series A and looking at raising around $6 million USD. So we're at that point now. We've got our first product coming off the, I suppose, production line, if you will, by September, which is very exciting. Yeah. I know. Yeah. So that's in New Zealand, which, as an Australian, big shout out to New Zealand, because I've decided that is definitely one of the better places in the world. So we're really excited about that. And now the additional funds will allow us to go into a much broader and a much bigger commercial production, which then once, obviously then we can start retailing properly, we can start driving that revenue, and then putting the core of what this business is about, these initiatives around children and addressing the need of malnutrition, particularly in the first instance in the region, start addressing those directly, which obviously, having started this business, I'm really excited about.
So the production is going to be done in New Zealand?
Yes, New Zealand.
Only New Zealand, or once you grow, you will have a few other places that you want to produce?
No, I think we'll stay in certainly for the foreseeable future, it'll be New Zealand. The land of the rolling grassy hills and white clouds. It really is quite beautiful, and they have a really fantastic. They're really embracing of startup companies. They're really helpful. They really are great in terms of supporting you and introducing you to people, which is, as a startup, it is one of the challenges. You've got to be able to pull your network together, and 9 times out of 10, you're having to pivot quite quickly in terms of some of the decisions that you're making around the business. Essentially to get the business up, at a point that it's, you can start turning some revenues. Because in our, the challenge that we've had is obviously getting to a point where we can get the business to a certain milestone or reach certain milestones, and then give investors of that bigger round the confidence that we have a product that's going to make money and have the propensity to sell. We've got a great management team. We have great suppliers and great production. We have a solid sort of operation plan around it. So in our mind, it's been trying to get working with partners that we can make that happen quite quickly. And New Zealand has facilitated that a lot better than Australia, which as an Australian, it's tough to say.
But
I'm saying it, and I'm putting it out there.
It's on the radio, you know.
Yeah, my best friend who's a Kiwi is just going to love this. I'm never going to hear the end of it.
Okay. Malik, when you're a business advisor to Teague, but to Elke, what can you, as an investor and advisor, how can you advise her to raise these $6 million?
Well, I think it's good that you've got your seed money. That's a start. I would only probably give you 3 pieces of advice. I was writing it down. It's great you're asking for the 6 million. Number 1 advice is get your numbers right.
Yes.
Scrub
Absolutely
it,
agree.
scrub it, test it, and if it gets torn apart, make sure it's defendable. That's important. Also, get the right investor. There is a lot of money running around. Getting the right investor who can then take your ambition to the next level. Sometimes there is a temptation to say, there is 6 million on the table, the person is willing to invest in it, but he is in textiles. And sometimes the motives or the motivations for investment is important as well. If he's not totally aligned with your business and he's not signed on to the vision, sometimes it's safer to walk away. You don't want to take on money and then in 2 or 3 years find that you have pressures from the investor to take the business to a certain angle or to a certain spin, which is not in line with what you want to achieve in the short or medium term. I think that's very important. I also think that the New Zealand story is a great story. I'm a little bit biased.
I was going to say, yes, you're
I
a Kiwi
used to
boy
be,
and
yeah.
Massey.
I'm a Kiwi boy. I went to school in New Zealand. I was the first
So
non-Kiwi.
maybe you should invest.
Yes, we should. 6 million. US or New Zealand?
US.
US,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Well, the Kiwi dollar is not so bad at the minute. You
Yeah.
never know.
I also think it's great. It's a great story. The whole New Zealand food safety, New Zealand pure, clean and green New Zealand. I think use that to your advantage as well. So tell that story as much as you can. I think Singapore is a great place to be with a manufacturing hub in New Zealand. Singapore being the hub to Southeast Asia, 600 million market within 2 hours of flying time. The ASEAN economic community is the 4th largest trading bloc in this part of the world. Indonesia is offering great opportunities as well. So keep on telling that story. Make sure you get the right investor in. And one of the downsides sometimes is I always have that theory that the numbers don't lie. And sometimes when, I feel really bad when people with a great story, great entrepreneurs come up to us and say, look, this is what I want to do. And it's a great sell. And they don't seem to get their numbers right, their projections, their returns for investors and stuff like that. And they fail because they don't seem to understand the importance of that. So I think those are the 3 points that I would say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I think it was helpful.
Definitely, and I think you're right. I think the numbers piece is, I think it's, being able to stack that story up, because ultimately an investor is looking at those, that spreadsheet, that work spreadsheet on spreadsheet. I love the spreadsheet on any given day, but the detail that, we have to go through and reassess. And I'm, I have, now two fabulous colleagues, one who is a financing and modeling expert.
Yeah.
You should get him to help you. Not that you probably need, but he's just fantastic. So he's, but the modeling piece just takes so long, and you're constantly, I sit there and dream about numbers on a spreadsheet now next to everything else. But it's just critical.
One more piece of advice. I'm also seeing a new trend here now where people are saying, look, if you want 6 million US, are you going to do this in tranches? That's something to think about as well. We see people saying, look, if it's 6 million, what happens if I give you 2 million in the first 2 years and tranche it over a period of time? I think that kind of conversations are becoming more common these days, especially in this part of the world.
And it's good or bad?
I think it's good sometimes for the owner, because we've seen instances where revenue actually, they took in a smaller tranche, they grew revenue, and they didn't have to give as much away for the business, because they initially asked for 7, and actually really they needed 2 to ramp up in Southeast Asia. And because of that, they got the 2. Revenue figures were coming in, was pumping to the business. then again, they say, well, actually, I don't need 7. I may only need 3 or 4. And they kept a lot more of the company and didn't give away as much. That's becoming more common in this part of the world, I think, over the last year or so. And we're telling some of our tenants or clients or partners at Platform E that, hey, is this really the amount you need to raise today? What do you need to take it to the next level? And then you revisit this again. So the school of thought a few years ago was raise all you can, and because it's a lot more difficult to come back to the market to raise again. That was a school of thought, and that was what I believed in. But now I'm seeing people, a lot of corporate finance houses, a lot of individuals saying, hang on, could I put 2 million and we relook at what we could do again? So I think this is becoming more prevalent as people are becoming a little bit more savvy in the way they park their money.
Okay. Effendi, so you're raising funds. You want to grow online and maybe grow globally. How much are you raising?
Oh, this is the first time I'm raising funds, so.
And how were you until now? You were self-funded?
Yes. So previously we've been doing business, get enough funds, do the social impact programs, run our money, then do business again, then run our money, then got the money.
So the business paid for
yeah, correct.
Okay.
So the money that we need today is actually just 432,000 Sing dollars.
432. You have to explain the 32 to me. Why not 450?
Because we scrap it.
Okay.
Really scrap it, and that's the figure that we need today. We have a whole approach. That 432K is actually for a social impact of 1.08 million per year. So with that 432, we need 1 year of capacity building, and the year after that will be 1.08 annual per year social impact to 50 families. How we get 1.08? Basically 12 times 1.8K times 50 families, 50 women. So that's the figure that we are looking at. And in that 1 year of capacity building, we'll be in the black. We'll break even. So that's the funds that we are trying to get. It's our first time raising funds. We never raised funds before, but we have a solid plan, I feel. In terms of approach, we have this thing we call the skills shop shared space approach. For the skills, we teach them, we teach the beneficiaries apparel, accessories, and alteration, because there's a strong demand in sewing, especially in Singapore. Tailors are switching to become just to do alteration, not to do any garments, because it's a cash cow. In terms of capability, we are the leading company, social enterprise, that is able to make beneficiaries from zero to hero. Beneficiaries with their baggages, with their problems, who are able to make untrained women with problems to become seamstresses. So that is a capability, and it's been recognized. We got the Community Leaders Forum grant to acknowledge, to recognize our effort there. In terms of sustainability, moving forward, we have already secured exclusive right to conduct sewing training for women by one of the leading training centers in Singapore, SENS. So all the sewing will be done by us. Also, we need funds for that, for the skills parts. That's the skills pillar. Capacity building, definitely we need a bigger space. So we need to pay rent and so forth. Definitely no carpet. No carpet.
No thick carpet.
No
No
thick-
thick
no
carpet.
thick
Carpet
carpet.
you can have, just
Yeah.
not thick.
The IKEA ones. Yeah.
The second pillar we call the shop. Now this time, level 1, the beneficiaries will be hired by us to run the shop. In terms of capacity, we are well known providing for providing good quality sewing, even though it's done by the beneficiaries. There were programs like us before, but never with the same QC, because we have a system whereby all the sewing done by these ladies go through us, go through a QC process before we give to the client, because people don't do PT buying. Maybe they do it once, but if you want them to always make garments with us, you have to make sure it's the best. and they'll keep coming. In terms of sustainability, we have really created a beneficiary-driven label. We tested with Sakura, I mentioned earlier. It was well received. We're going to do something called Be Authentic. So the TEAG at the back. Yeah. We tested that label.
Your own label. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, own label. We tested it with the youth. We had a streetwear called Be Authentic. It went quite well also. So we need to build that part, the shop pillar.
Did you think about selling to other stores like
We have. In fact, we have. That's where the money came previously. B2B. So we sell white label, especially those who want to sell online. There are two kinds. One, they just want to test it out. They want to try selling online. So we sell jogger pants, for example, then they put their own label. Some of them bought from Vietnam. When the first batch is okay, second batch, a lot of problems. So we alter it. We make some embellishment and they sell it at a higher price. So we have been doing that.
Okay.
And we're going to start another one, which we call Super Kids, not Super Kids. SEWPER, Super Kids. So one enrichment center have taken up our program. So we are on a profit sharing basis. It's in a mall. The company is called Imaginasium. Gymnasium and Imagine. So they combine it together. So we have that. So we need, for capacity building, we need funding to develop the label and to develop the program for Super Kids. Now, in terms of shared space, our approach is our beneficiaries, many of them live in one-room flat. They may not have the space, but they may have the skill. So we want them to come over to our place to create a lot of new designs. In fact, many of them, especially the young ones, they are very creative. But because their talent was never nurtured or never discovered, there's no place for them to do this.
So you want to have a co-working space for your employees.
Correct. Co-working space, platform E, maybe platform S for sewing.
Platform T for teak.
Yeah, platform T for teak. In terms of capability, we have been doing that for the longest time. But our place is small. It is working. It's working for the beneficiaries. And in terms of sustainability, we don't have any space except the one that given by platform E, and that's wonderful, no? So we're going to start with that one. We really want to grow, and we see whether we can make more of them. In fact, through our partnership, one more thing. Our advantage is we have signed MOUs with a lot of charities. In fact, 11 of them. Not all of them have MOUs, but we have a close working relationship with 11 of them. So the money they put in would definitely impact those who need help. And there is a figure to it, 1.08 mil every year. And we are willing, it's going to be in the black after year one.
Okay, thank you. So if anybody wants to invest 432,000 Sing dollars, please contact Fendi from Teague after this show. Okay, I want to ask each one of you to share with us a funny story during his entrepreneurial journey. And we will start actually with you, Malik, because you are also an entrepreneur. So you can share with us a funny story, something that happened to you.
I think, well, to be lots and lots of funny stories, some really sad stories as well. But I think being, when I was doing trade commission work for New Zealand, there was a certain expectation that businesses pay taxes in New Zealand, and you get honey makers, and you've got all kinds of strange businesses coming out to Singapore, knocking on your door saying, look, you've got to help me get a partner, grow the business, and take me to the region, and I want to be super rich. I'll tell you a funny story. New Zealand is blessed as a nation of SMEs, but one of its biggest problems is scaling those SMEs into MNCs, or international businesses. I once spoke to a family who were making leisure craft boats, fishing boats, leisure craft, world-class standards, some of the best in the world. There are a couple of people in Singapore who order them. But the business was structured in such a way that Mum was the receptionist. The daughter was the office manager. The son was the apprentice, and Dad was the master boat maker. And they made really good boats. And I said, look, you're making a couple thousand boats a year. I can take it to the next level for you. I can really, grow this into Southeast Asia because, look, we've done with the cars, we've done with the big houses, the country club memberships. Next thing are leisure craft. That's the next big status symbol. We've moved beyond that now to aircraft. But I went out all the way to a little town in New Zealand, sat the family down and said, look, what does it take for you to come out to Singapore, get a few agents, grow the business? And Dad said, I'm sorry, but I have to go fishing. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm talking about growing your business. He says, no, I have to go fishing. And what he was trying to tell me was, look, I'm not interested in selling 1 million boats. I'm interested in selling 10,000 boats a year. And then I posed another question and he turned white. I said, look, you're the only one making the boats. You've got an order sheet of a couple of hundred boats for the year. What happens? You're 68 years old. What happens if you drop dead from a heart attack? Is little Tommy in the corner there going to satisfy your books? And, it was the first time he thought about it. And that leads down to the point about what Effendi said about pity money. You're only going to get to a certain stage with pity money. Even the Effendi and Hasnila story, I would urge you to look at what Elke is doing. Build a business, build a sustainability story, build a company that has embedded culture into it as well. When an investor looks sometimes at social enterprise, they only see the individuals. And the fear is what happens if these individuals are no longer in the business? What are the risks of that happening as well? And we also want people like Effendi and Hasnina to be sustainable. We've got to take care of them as well. He's doing so much, pumping all this money, but who is actually looking out for Effendi and Hasnina? They've quit jobs, they've put blood, sweat, tears into this. They make a lot of impact, 1.08 million impact. But the thing we're working with Effendi is saying that, look, you've got to build a business where we can see beyond the two of you. That, as what Elke said, you've got good financial people, modeling people. How can we get a mini Effendi or a mini Haslina in the business who is just as passionate about building it as well? And then you've got to take that and then embed it into the organization and people see a real business. And that's where I think the investments will come.
Okay, thank you. And Elke, can you share with us a funny story? And also, please let us know, where do you see yourself 2 years from now?
A funny story. I feel like I'm on the spot here. Well, do you know what? Well, there's a couple, but I will say that every single day of this journey there's been something that's been funny. If it's not kind of a random road trip to Malaysia to go and meet some investors, or, being in New Zealand with my business partners, with Joel and with Alan, who's a very Australian boy from Brisbane, with all sorts of stories that go along. I mean, I've spent days my stomach sore from laughter by spending, days with these guys who are just the best in the world. And I think that is one of the things that I have learned along this journey, having come from where I've, different businesses that I've worked before and starting other businesses in the past, surrounding myself with people that not only are the best around the table and best in the business, but also who are fun and as passionate about the business as you, just makes every day fun. But one in particular, oh God, I don't even know if this is funny, but anyway, I'll say
We promise to laugh.
Well, you promise to laugh.
We will
Okay,
not
some
cry.
canned laughter. No, when I had to fly actually to Europe to meet our supplier, and of course we're in Spain, in Valencia, and I'm driving the funniest looking car out of The Simpsons. It was the randomest thing you've ever seen. Anyway, I get lost, of course, because some would argue because I'm blonde. But so I happened to stop and pull up next to these two policemen on motorcycles, and I said, I'm trying to find my way to this street, in broken English, and they're broken. We couldn't understand, but I'm like, Google Maps, I'm trying to go here. Anyway, so I got this police escort through the city of Valencia to get me to my meeting on time, because I'm like, I'm running late. I'm always running. Anyway, I got this police escort, and my colleague that was with me at the time goes, there's nobody else in this world, Elke Pascoe, that would get a police escort to a meeting in Valencia. So, I did arrive on time, which again is quite surprising. But no, I think when you've got the right people around you building a business, probably like you are with your wife, every day's lots of fun.
And
the second
adventure.
question, an adventure, massive adventure. God, I've never laughed so much in the last years. I've never been so stressed out in my life, and I've never cried so much. But the laughter and the times that I've had with the guys around, around my management team are just fantastic.
Good.
And 2 years from now,
2 years
second
from now,
question.
yeah.
2 years from now, we will be out on the shelves and selling our product and nourishing, babies and toddlers here in Australia and New Zealand, in the Middle East, and really starting to take the hard work that we've, that's been invested into what I consider this small baby of mine that I've birthed now, and being able to look at, as I said to you before, the real reason why we started this business, looking at how we actually can fund and make a difference to every child that's born, and really, I suppose, helping mothers and helping parents, mothers and fathers, understand what the importance of nutrition and nourishing a child from the very beginning means. Obviously, breastfeeding is the best thing you can give a child, but if mothers can't do that, I'd like to think that in our journey in 2 years' time, I can confidently look back and say, you've produced the most natural and the best infant formula on the market. That means that every child that's using your product is going to thrive because of it, and as a result of that, then other children around the world are going to benefit as well. So that'll be 2 years' time looking back.
I'm sure you'll succeed, and we'll look out for you 2 years from now.
I hope so.
2020, here we come.
Thank you.
And Effendi, please share with us a short, funny story and where you see yourself 2 years from now.
It'll be really, really short because I don't have a funny story.
I'm sure you have.
I just realized it. You made me reflect. I really don't have any funny stories. Most of the time, reflecting back, I either be very, very quiet because I'm reflecting, or I'll be one corner and with tears in my eye. Maybe the only funny thing is many people feel that we are just two people, husband and wife story, very hardworking. At the same time, we are very strategic. When we are doing this, we surround ourselves with people who are capable. We have a strong network of CEOs, like I told you, the SANS, the self-help groups, and so forth. So we developed this net, whereby when the two of us don't have the capacity, there's always this network whereby we are able to achieve our goal. In 2 years' time, we hope to be at least 2 to 3 steps closer to being a regional hub of helping marginalized women all over Southeast Asia. Because we are talking about making a breakthrough in the fashion industry, and if you want a whole segment of women to go, we're basically pulling a segment of women and say, come on, we can thrive in this industry. Then different women must do different things in different parts of the world. So we hope to take maybe 2 steps closer, but based on the plan 2020 is 1.08 million social impact. Definitely, it's something that we're going to do. One story is this: we have a program we call "Life is So Good."
You're really I would say a creative company. Yeah.
Where do you come up with these things?
You should switch your profession.
I need you to have a look at LittleOak Organics. I think we need.
So what we wanted to do, we found out that there's many people during festive period. They hide themselves in the house for 1 week until the festival, the spirit disappear, because they got, for example, they don't have any new clothes to go out with. So we decided that, okay, we're going to train you to make clothes. Not only that, we're going to sell these clothes, and we're going to get custom orders. First, for your family, the 3 phases I mentioned earlier, an MP heard about us. So we gather all these women from all the different charities, we train them. Then we talk to this MP and says, do you have marginalized women? They say, yeah, in my constituency. So can my group, the marginalized women who have been trained, so for your group, but you pay, besides the other group. So then they did it, and both sides cried. Those who did it cried, and those who received it cried, because for those who did it, they realized it was not an easy process. Sewing is a craftsman art. So they went through the program, and not only that, they get income in, so they make a difference to their family. Not only that, not only they have money now, they are contributing to other women who don't have that luxury of going through the training, but getting the new set of clothes. And that's very inspiring. So I spent a few minutes with my wife, one corner, crying, laughing, crying, laughing, But we feel very happy, and we want to replicate that as many times as we can. And we want this woman not just to get livable wages, but wages enough to give up.
Okay, thank you very much. We have to finish our show. I think we can continue to talk and talk and talk. But just I would like to say one thing. And as an entrepreneur myself, I think it's a very hard journey, but you're doing amazing things. And I think at the end of the day, we really have to enjoy what we're doing. And of course, you have your sad stories, but you have this big smile on your face. So I assume you're enjoying it. And you said also that it's all about the fun. And yeah, thank you very much to Elke from
LittleOak Organics.
LittleOak Organics, to Effendi from Teague, and to Malik from Platform E.
Thank you.